What is up, guys? Welcome to the Delta Omega Dynasty podcast. I'm your boy Joey Medina, aka Carl Weezer 69. Happy to be back here after some time off, bringing you guys all things and everything Delta Omega Dynasty League 2022. Um, 14 weeks of a grueling regular season have finally come to a conclusion, and the 2022 postseason is here, which means one of two things, which means six teams have a chance at a fantasy championship this year, and it also means that our beloved fantasy football season is coming to an end. Yes, that's sad. However, we still got to make the most of it while we can before we go back into the grueling off season that lasts like 8 months and feels like 20 years. Um, but here we are, nonetheless. We got to roll with the punches and keep going forward. So before we get started, I do want to touch on one thing. I did send out the 2022 award nomination sheet a few days ago. Just scroll up like 20 messages or so, and you'll see it in the chat. Please, if you haven't voted, um, go ahead and do it. It takes like 2 minutes, if that. I know you're bored at work, so just do it anyways. Uh, so here we go. As far as the nomination sheet is concerned, I will probably accept responses next couple days. Let's call it Saturday or Sunday. And then I will send out the official ballot probably Monday or Tuesday of next week. We'll vote. It'll be multiple choice, so it'll be even easier than the nomination sheet. And then I will announce the winners fantasy championship weekend. Um, so yeah, that's about all the housekeeping I have. Let's get into the football, right? So, like I said, the regular season is over, but let's rewind. Let's recap rivalry week. I said that correctly. Thank the Lord. And let's take a look at what happened. And more specifically, so let's take a look at the all time series of these rivalries. Yes, I took the liberty of looking up everyone's rivalries throughout the last 3 years and compiling a all-time series record. A lot of them are similar, but it is kind of interesting at the very least to see where everybody stands in their rivalry and who's won more than the other, basically. Um, so up first in the first rivalry all-time series, we have myself versus Riley, where I lead the series 3-1, 4 meetings since 2020. Um, it just is what it is. And this might be a common theme, at least for these first couple. Next thing we have, or next rivalry we have, is Irv versus Dakota. Um, they've played 4 times since 2020, and one of them was against Corbin, clearly. But Dakota leads the series 3-1. Next rivalry, we have Hunter versus Liam, who have met 4 times since 2020. And believe it or not, Liam leads the series 3-1. And another fun fact about that is Liam has won a total of 6 games in 3 years, and half of them have been against Hunter. So take that information for what you will, but I just thought it was very interesting that half of Liam's wins have come against one opponent. Um, Next rivalry, we have Trevor versus Kyle, where Kyle shockingly leads the series 3-1. These two have also met 4 times, clearly, over the last 3 years. Um, but fear not, these last two rivalries are not 3-1. So the next rivalry I want to look at is Lewis versus Tommy. They've also played 4 times since 2020. One of those matchups being against Peter. The series is tied 2-2 in that rivalry. And last but not least, we have Max versus Jansen and their rivalry, where Jansen leads the series 4-1, as they've been the only rivalry to play more than 4 times. Um, However, I will say 4-1 for Jansen might seem like a dub for him, but the one win Max has is that 2020 championship game where Max brought home his first of two fantasy championships. So Jansen might have the lead, but Max has the one that counts. So take that for what you will. I thought it was interesting. Took me like 10 minutes to look all this stuff up, so I thought I'd bring it to you. Um, so yeah, we'll probably keep this going, updating it as the years go on, and who knows how long it lasts, but it'll probably be pretty cool once we've played each other enough times. Um, so that's enough about last week, the regular season. Well, I guess maybe if you want to count the seedings, but because that's what we're getting into next. But we're pivoting in towards the playoff section of the show. I could not be more excited. The playoffs are super stressful because all the work that you did over the regular season has now, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't really matter anymore, especially for teams that are playing this weekend. That if they have a dud, are going home very early and competing for that fifth place game, which doesn't seem so fun. So yeah, without further ado, just to recap, here are the seedings for the playoffs in 2022. You got myself at 1, Riley at 2, Trevor at 3, Kyle at 4, Jansen at 5, and Dakota rounding out the playoffs at number 6. Um, let's take a look. All right. So, as terms of matchups, um, we have Riley versus Dakota, and Jansen versus Kyle in terms of the playoffs. In terms of the consolation bracket, I might touch on it in another show, but not today, in all likelihood. Um, but we got Riley against Dakota, the 2 seed versus the 6 seed, and Jansen versus Kyle, which is the 4 versus 5 seed. Very, very interesting matchups. Riley's gotten plagued by the injury bug, not blug, injury bug. Um, Here at the last week of the season, Kyler's out for the year, which means Tannehill or Darnold, I believe he picked him up earlier today, um, will be his starter. Still has a great wide receiver core. The running back room is fine, is good. I would even say maybe even great, especially with J.K. Dobbins coming back. Maybe he can carve out a role if he gets hot again this week and Riley wins, and maybe he can crank into the starting lineup and be a potential league winner. Um, we'll have to see. That's all. The only thing I think about of Dakota is I think about, where would this team be with Jefferson and Diggs? And I know we've Riley's touched on that before, and Dakota probably does not want to hear it. I have to think about it. I'm sure it'll be worth it because he's got a ton of picks, and should be able to restock his team to some degree without, scraping it. Um, but we made it. I think I predicted him to be 8-6, and he did. He did have that brutal schedule that made him sell off a lot of his players. But he ends up making the playoffs for the third time in a row. Dakota probably has been the most consistent team from um, conception of this league till now. Just playoff after playoff. I think he's advanced to the second round every year so far. Could be wrong though. I'm just guessing. Um, but should be an interesting one. I think Riley's favored by 10 points, 10-ish points, I should say. Um, we'll take a good effort from Dakota to win, but we'll also have to see how much Riley's team, how Riley's team performs without Kyler. Will it be a 6 point difference with Tannehill putting up 14 instead of 20? Or will it be more of a, Devontae and Stephon carrying the load and him still putting up 115 to 120? So there's a lot of things that could happen. We'll be tuning in. Obviously, I don't have a game this week, so I'll be very invested into both of those playoff matchups this weekend. Um, but as far as Jansen and Kyle goes, um, I want to say that it could be this is anyone's game. If Kyle's team remains hot, probably beats Jansen, but if he doesn't go off, I'm thinking Jansen probably wins. This one is a tight game. I've been picking against Kyle all year, and he's been making me regret that. Um, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure. I really do think that both of these games are up in the air. I really do. I would not be surprised if all all four of these wild card round teams made it to the next round. Um, but for my money, I think I would go. with Riley and Kyle. Just a feeling, just because maybe I my personal reasons are making me want Dakota and Jansen to win. Just because Riley and Kyle feel like the evil empire of our fantasy league, for whatever reason. It just is what it is. No disrespect or anything. Um, but I'm thinking that Riley and Kyle will win. As far as the next where we're going in terms of playoffs, um, I thought since I haven't done a podcast in a while, we got to do a list at some point. So here are the top six from 6 to 1, I should say, hardest path to the championships and the playoffs. Um, so starting at number 6, where I think that it is the easiest, and then moving down to number 1, where I obviously think it's the hardest. I apologize if I'm bouncing back and forth. I really do not have a script or anything. So, but I did want to get something out to you guys. So bear with me, and thanks for sticking with me. But at number 6, for the easiest path to the fantasy championship, I have Trevor. And his potential path is Jansen and Kyle winner, followed by the TU apartment conference winner. Um, 2 games for the championship by default is easier than all the other teams for the most part. Having 3 to win it all. He does. Trevor does have the bye week in the easier side of the bracket, um, as I believe all of those teams are 9-5 and on the CTBNL. So it's really anyone's game. Um, Trevor got the bye. He's just got to win one game and he's in the ship. So that's why I've got him at 6. At number 5, I'm throwing a curveball here. You would think it'd be me, just for the same reasons that I said for Trevor, but I have Kyle at number 5. His potential path is Jansen, Trevor, and then the TU apartment conference winner. Um, Now, bear with me here because I could be wrong, but just that easier side of the bracket is just it's kind of nice. Like if I was on that side, I would be feeling really really good. No disrespect to those teams, but there's not a team with double digit wins on that side of the bracket. Um, so I have Kyle at 5, who has a potential path of Jansen, Trev, and the TU apartment conference winner. I think I might have already said that. Um, but Kyle is more than capable, if not favored, to beat Jansen. Kyle has owned Trevor, as you probably remember from me saying from their rivalry week. He's 3-1. And then the TU apartment conference winner, where he's got wins over me and Riley this year, assuming that one of the two of us makes it out of that side of the bracket. Um, so it just lined up. Yeah, he's got 3 games. Could he be switched with me? Yeah, he could, but I'm gonna stick him at number 5 for now. On to number 4, we have myself, clearly, potential path of Riley Dakota winner, and then the CTBNL winner. I could have been at 5, but I put myself at 4, because of the strength of schedule. Like, I mean, in all honesty, it's probably going to be Riley and me, and barring Dakota doing very, very well. Me and Riley for the third time this year, where it might be hard for my team to win again against Riley. But it's a for both of us. It's a scenario where you're playing a team that's won over 10 games, and those are never fun because they've got a really really good team. So I've got myself at 4 for that reason. But 2 games to get to the champion to win the championship. It's definitely one of the easier paths, I will say. Coming in at number 3 for the third hardest path to the championship is Jansen, with a potential path of Kyle, Trevor, and the TU apartment conference winner. Um, Jansen, Kyle's a tough playoff opponent, especially because he's so boom or bust. Where Jansen is such a consistent 80 to 95 point a game scorer. Um, then he's got Trevor, who uh, is also a tough out as well. And then he's got likely me or Riley in the championship. That is just no fun. Jansen is going to be stressed as long as his playoff run continues, because there just isn't an easy game for his team and his style of play, where he doesn't really score a ton of points. I mean, he's capable of it, as we've seen throughout the year, of him putting up over 100, 115 every once in a while. Um, but for the most part, he stays in that sweet zone. So it's going to be a butt clincher to say the least. So Jansen is at number three. Moving on to number two, I have Riley as the second hardest path to the championship, with a potential path of Dakota, then myself, and then the CTBNL winner. Um, and I put obviously Riley and Dakota, who are the last two that I've yet to say, at the top two of the positions, just because that side of the bracket is brutal, absolutely brutal. Dakota's no easy path for Riley, like I've already established, especially with Riley's injuries. I guess he just might have the injury to Kyler more. I think about it, but I don't know what Riley's team's going to look like. I'm sure Diggs and Adams will carry him for the most part, but you never know with not your starting quarterback how your overall points might be impacted. So that's something to watch this weekend. Then he's got me, like I said, 2 10-win teams. Um, not fun. He's also hasn't beat me this year, um, which you might be an advantage just because like it's got to be pretty hard to beat some team 3 times in 1 year. And then if he gets by me, he's then got the CTBNL winner, which is likely a team that's gotten hot, as all of the teams in that side of the bracket are 9-5, and pretty even for the most part. And then finally at number one, we have Dakota with the potential path of Riley, myself, and then the CTBNL winner. This is clearly the hardest path to the championship, as he's got to go through two 10-plus win teams, followed by a team that will have either 10 or 11 wins by the time that Dakota gets to the championship. So we're looking at three double-digit win teams on the season to uh, as his potential path to the championship. So it will be tough sledding for Dakota. If he wins the championship, it should be noted, should be documented. It should be made a film of just how miraculous that run would be, especially after trading two of his best players, if not his two best players, over the course of the 2022 calendar year. Um, so yeah, that's why I've got him at number one. Um, Moving on, let's take a look at the semifinals, potential semifinal matchups, and let's take a look at the outlook. In the apartment conference, you have got myself versus Riley, which, as you guys know, is a rematch of the rivals. It would be for the third time this year, where I won both, and Riley is definitely would be looking for revenge. Um, and he definitely takes a 1-2 record against me if the one is in the playoffs. That would be a very fun matchup to see again. Um, I'm all for it. If Dakota wins, we got Joey versus Dakota. It would be a rematch of week two, where Dakota, in fact, won by 7. I would also be intrigued by this matchup, as I would have a chance personally to get back one of my earlier losses of the year. Um, so I am very excited at the prospect of getting a chance to redeem myself there. Of course, if Riley wins, definitely excited to play him once again as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. As far as the CTBNL, if Kyle wins, we get Trev versus Kyle. This is another rematch of the rivals, would be another third meeting. Kyle won both in this rivalry this year. So very, very interesting matchup if Kyle wins. And last but not least, if Jansen wins, we have Trev versus Jansen, which would be a rematch of week 8, if I remember correctly, where I think I want to say Trev won by like 17, 15 points, like 15 to 20 points, something like that, if I remember correctly. Um, so yeah, these are our potential semifinal matches. I'm very excited. I really didn't prepare that much for this, in all honesty. So I don't really have that much in terms of things to talk about. I guess I could, but this is about all I could get to at this point. So I appreciate y'all uh, checking in and riding with me all year with these podcasts. I'll try to get another one next week. Just things get busy over the holidays, so um, hit or miss in terms of the podcast. But um, I would like to get another podcast, or at least one a week during the postseason. I definitely want to talk some consolation bracket going forward. Um, just so we can get the other half of the league involved. I'm hoping some big stakes are involved in that consolation bracket, so you guys have something to get into. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching. I'm very excited about the playoffs. Very excited about uh, who's going to win it all. Because I really don't know who it is. I really do think that all six teams have a path to victory. Um, but we'll just have to see. That's why you play the games, and I could not be more excited to watch everything go down. That's it for now. Sorry, this one was a little shorter. We'll be back hopefully next week. So until next time, I'll see y'all later.